Gentlemen, time is an interesting concept. It goes by, things modernize, and things get left in the dust, become outdated, worn down, not viable. With so many seasons and so many units, a lot of them have fallen by the wayside, left to gather dust, while the modern units push on and get ever more powerful. So this video is just going to be me going through my top units that I think could do with a little pick-me-up, a little buff, or even a mastery might help some of them. Some of them have never been realized, some of them have had their day in the sun and have been very strong and been nerfed maybe too much and become unplayable, and some are just wholly outdated compared to the modern units we're getting with all the self-healing and everything. So sit back, relax, and let's just have a little chat about it, because maybe, just maybe, we could get this in the right hands, in the devs' hands, and if we're really lucky, they might actually look at some of the old units and bring them back up and make them viable again. So, after that long intro, I wanted to give you the reasons why I want to make this video. I'm really fond of some of the older units, and obviously with the modernization of some of the units we're getting in the newer seasons, that it's having an effect on the older units, and some of them have never been realized. Some of them were always pretty bad and always needed something. But as we keep going through the seasons, we're getting a lot of units with self-healing, different like damage reductions, and I feel like the older units are getting a little bit left behind and becoming like not even unviable. They're becoming like you just shouldn't play them because you're not going to be able to do much with them. So I'd even be like keen for a season where we don't receive any units. We just see a modernization of all of the older units. But I wanted to do in this video, I want to just go through a few of my top choices of what I would do. Obviously, I can't go through them all. There are so many. That might be for another video. But in this one, we're just going to go through the ones that I really want to see. And if you watch me on stream, you'll know my first one and my highest requested unit that needs to be modernized, and it's kind of never got realized in the way that it probably should have. And it was the unit that I was most excited for back in the day, but it never really hit the mark. But I think it really could, and it's such a cool concept, and I just think it needs a bit of modernization, a bit of some sort of healing or something like that. But we'll get into it, and we'll go for a few of the units that I would love to see buffed. Let's have a look. So first off, this should be no surprise, Retinarii. I love a Jav as a dual blades, always loved the Jav, but these guys, when they came out, I was super excited for them, and they weren't too bad. They just never had that sort of, they never really felt like a T5 to me, like, but they were fine. And then obviously Imperial Javs, Javelin Sergeants got mastery, and now they are by far your best choices to go for a Jav. And these guys just get left in the wayside completely. Their Javs do probably less than a green Jav in some cases. But my idea with these boys, they obviously tried to be a bit melee. That never works realistically with a Jav, but it could do if the unit count wasn't 12. That has always been my biggest downfall with these guys, is that the unit size was 12. They'd never really fitted into that T5 thing with 12, and I felt like this should be a pretty scary unit to see standing there. So the first thing I'd like to see modernized with these would be the head count. Head count, I think, could be at the minimum 18, but I would almost like to see it doubled. If you don't do anything else, I would like these to be doubled to 24. 22 would be good too, if there was nothing else done. Just because I think it's really bad when you're running around and you lose 3 of these guys. If you lose 3 of these guys, that is your your any killing capability they did have is now gone from jabs. And then if you try and put them in any combat, they're instantly dead. So having that extra head count would actually bring these guys into viability. The next thing I'd like to see modernized with these things, and this is probably never going to happen, but if this video gets into the devs' hands, then maybe they'll look at some of these older units that people are really fond of, and go, you know what, actually, yeah, let's bring some of these old units back up. But the next thing I'd like to see is with Mark of Death. Obviously, a lot of the newer units have a self-healing capability, and I would almost like to see something where when they do their throw, they can like siphon some health, or like at least give them a way to bring health back, or maybe when they go into combat with Mark of Death on, they'll like lifesteal or something like that. When they go in, would be really nice just to keep them topped up as they throw. And then the last thing I'd like to see is maybe, I mean, it probably wouldn't matter so much if we went up to like 20 head count, 14,000 health, wouldn't be too bad. It's just now we're obviously a lot of the units with far higher head count. So if we go to, let's say, Shield Maidens, this has 32 unit head count, and it's got 15,200 health. So each one of them has 15,000 health. That obviously it's a tower shield unit, so should have a lot of health, but there is 32 of them. So let's say even Imperial Javs, for example, there's 30 of them, 30 Imperial Javs, and they have 13,500 health, so 500 less than a head count of 12. So yeah, that would probably be my first thing to do. Ideally, number 1 on my list would be head count being doubled, and then some sort of modernization in sort of sustainability in terms of keeping them going, keeping them alive, as they roll on some higher damage reductions. I know they do have damage reductions built into Trident Charge, but Trident Charge hits so little. 10% damage reduction, and then you got 15% damage reduction in spearfishing. Maybe up those, or add a healing element to that that recovers their jabs or something like that. But yes, number 1 for me, Retinarii. Would love to see them back in the game, but they do need a higher head count. On to the next one. My next one, Axes of the North, or VGs. Obviously, these guys did have their time in the sun. They were strong, but over time, obviously, modern units coming in, a lot of change going on with the nerf that they had. They sort of fell by the wayside and never really returned. Again, same problem. I actually don't think they need a huge buff. There's about 2 things I'd probably do with these. First thing I would do, head count. Let's bring that head count up to 20 to 22. Let's get that up. It's too little. And then the next thing we'll probably go for this. The health is, again, crazy small. This we could probably go to 16,000 per head count. And then I think they need some sort of 15% damage reduction on something that would allow them to sustain in combat a little bit better than they are at the moment. It'd be nice to see these come back and, you know, go up against the Spartans, go up against Shield Maidens. You know, at the moment, when it comes to T5, melee, what we see is Spartans, shield maidens, and Orochi because of chariots. In terms of tier 5, that's basically it. Maybe Seeladars at a push sometimes, but it's still you'd be better off taking shield maidens or Spartans. So it'd be nice to see a bit more variation come back into the game. So VGs would be next on my list. I know I spoke about Retinarii for a long time, but they were the ones I really wanted to push. On to the next one. Okay, the next one never was realized. It really didn't get much play, and that was really unfortunate because they look very cool, and actually from the same season as the VGs. Huskarls. I've got no problem with their unit count, 21. That's fine. I don't even have a problem with their health or their defense. All good. Their damage is actually pretty good too. Could maybe be slightly higher, but my main issue with these bad boys is their chant, and it's not even the fact that their chant takes a while to get to full. I'm happy to do the chant, but please let the chant not deplete by just moving around. It should go to full, and stay at full until you let it loose, until you let them go. Secondly, their charge is up to them, so you click go and they'll just charge at anything. That sounds good in theory, but it's really annoying. So change the first fully charged up, fully chanted charge. That would be, Sea Surge, or is it Huskarl charge? That should be an aimed charge. Just let us aim it, and then everything else past that can be where they automatically hit everything. But the first one, let it be aimed. Change it to being aimed, and that would be far better. But the main thing, they do their chant. They get to keep all of their fully charged stacks until you release it whenever you want to, because it's so irritating if you try and use these guys and you are you chant and then either the combat finishes or your team gets run over while you're singing in the background. That is kind of annoying. So yes, that is what we do with Huskarls. Would love to see them actually be played. On to the next one. You didn't think I'd leave out Pavise. Pavise used to be awesome. They were really, really cool. They did a lot of damage, and they maybe too much. They had their time in the sun. They were very, very strong. But I used these the other day, and I was consistently hitting for a huge amount of 150. They are terrible against anything that isn't cavalry, and even then they weren't that great because they're kind of slow at shooting, so you're much better off having a blue crossbow. Get the arbalists, and they'll wipe out 10 times more than these guys do. So I'd like to see these guys get a little update. Their damage needs to be increased for what they do. A little more defensive. Maybe we can make that the shield slightly more impactful. Yeah, I was very disappointed. So I want to see it become a real shield killer. If we want to go down the route of having extra sort of big bolts that are powering through shields, I would want to see this be the one that is like the range unit you think twice at. If you're using a shield, not going to absolutely obliterate shields, but it's fine against them. It's decent. They're obviously super slow, that I'm happy with. That's the way this unit should be. It should be slow, but there is very, and it shouldn't have a fast rate of fire either. Shouldn't be fast. It's just each one of those bolts should be impactful, and there is no impactfulness at all on these guys. So, yep. Pavise, and I think a lot of people would be happy to see Pavise at least be a half decent range unit, because obviously at the moment we got the T5 archer, the Hangwei or whatever it's called, that is annihilating every other archer, basically. Longbows are probably the only way around you can get to get those guys out of there, to get those blue laser beam guys out. So it'd be nice to have another unit. It's got a shield. It can actually take a few hits from the T5 archers and at least compete, because you take the damage the T5 arch does and you take what these guys do, and it's stupid. It's like, as I said, they were hitting 150, where the Hangway archers or whatever, you're hitting 6,000, 5,000, like super high hits. So yeah, let's bring this T5 back up, like I'm saying with all the other ones. We just need to bring them up to the level of where everything else is right now, modernization. So yes, Pavise, next on my list. Sticking with the theme of archers, T5 archers, there are a few in the game. I know it doesn't look like it because everyone just runs the same one, but there are Houndsmen. I actually saw someone playing Houndsmen for the first time in ages yesterday on stream. They can put out a lot of damage, but there is a fundamental issue that hasn't always been around with them, but it's been sort of a problem. It just needs to be rectified slightly. The dogs. The big part of Houndsmen is your little hounds. My eyes, they die too quickly, especially today. Like, if you were to bring Houndsmen out today, you chuck your hounds into most situations, you will lose your hounds, and then you basically have a subpar archer on the side. So the doggos need to have some like self-healing modernization, and they need probably a good 30 to 40% more damage reduction with some more health to make them work. Because I'd love to see these guys come in, because the dogs and the chariots, like, this would be a great unit to be stopping chariots, with the dogs bouncing all over the chariots, and yeah, they could add some sort of trait, like modern trait with these guys, where there's a symbiotic thing with the hounds and the masters, where they sort of get some self-healing from each other in some way. I'm not sure which way you'd do it, but I think it would be this would be quite an easy one to build in a thing. But the main thing for me is the hounds need to have some more damage reduction, more health, just to bring them into viability. Because it's more about, in my eyes, with this unit, it's more about the hounds than the actual like master. The hounds are the cool part of this, and they're dead in 2 seconds. So that's what I think needs to happen with these. I'm all accepting that these are not a long-range archer. They're meant to be close quarters, but what's the point of them if your dogs are dead instantly? So, yeah. Houndsman, on to the next one. Okay, can't leave out cavalry, and this is a special cavalry. Camels. I love the idea of camels being an anti-cav sort of cavalry, I guess, and super tanky and whatever. But again, same problem as I have with the Retinarii. A 12 unit count, it hurts you so badly when you lose it. These, I think, should be up an 18 unit count. And the main thing that needs to happen with these, fortunately, one, I think we got to get rid of this burn, make some flammables, especially with the runes at the moment. When a hero dies, they put fire on the ground. You basically can lose your camels from that. That's silly. Secondly, the AI on these guys, the sort of movement, super terrible. I'm all accepting that they're pretty slow and a bit lumbering. That doesn't bother me. It's just like, you put these anywhere and half of them will be in a wall, and half of them is a lot of your head count. 6 of them disappear off somewhere and you've got 6 to play with, and it's silly. The next thing that I think was a big missed opportunity is when they brought out the chariot, they should have gone, oh, camels. They're not being played very much. Let's make them a really heavy anti-chariot. Like the super anti-chariot thing would be camels, right? Super high up. Great. Should have been unmissed potential. It's complete missed potential that these should have been the chariot killers. So yeah, I'd like to see them have much more emphasis on that. So we want a bigger head count. I'd like to see better like AI movement from them. Their movement's shocking. And again, even though they are a tanky unit, they have 28,000 health. That I'm not, you know, their health is great, but again, 6 of them disappear. I would even keep that health even when adding it to 18 head count. But yeah, just need it to be slightly. I think if you sort the AI out on them, they would be a better unit. But head count, be like up how they kill cavalry and chariots. They need to be way better at that. In fact, they don't think they can even kill a chariot. So you could make them specifically put a specific thing on them here that says like chariot killers. The reason why I say that is because we've got to realize this is not going to be the end of chariots. There is going to be more things added soon. There's going to be elephants. There's going to be... This chariot was a test bed to see how it gets on with other things in the same vein as that. So be ready for it, because it is going to come. And this is why I'm saying camels, let's up the head count and let's make them the sort of anti-special unit. Let's give them that role, because they could be amazing. They could be amazing, but they very lackluster. So on to my last one, and we're going to finish on a melee unit. And one of a melee unit I have a very soft spot, similar to I have a soft spot for Retinarii. The Claymores, I have a huge soft spot for them. Sucker for a two-handed sword. These boys, they are fine, they're good, but they've had a fundamental issue the entire time they've been out. They've never really hit the mark with how good they could be. So first off, happy 20 unit head count, perfect, absolutely fine. Highland Charge, great. Claymore Strike's great. For freedom, great concept, buffs everyone around you. I like it a lot, but the cooldown is almost 50 seconds. That's way too high. Even if they had lowered some of these stats in there, I would be fine with that. But the cooldown is too long on that. It needs to be 25 seconds, maybe less. So maybe lower how much it helps, but lower the cooldown significantly. Because if you take these guys and you don't use for freedom, they're dead. They don't do anything out of for freedom. So you rely on it. But waiting 50 seconds every time you want to do anything is rough. Secondly, the bad side of this is that obviously once they've done it, after 15 seconds, they get burnout. That damage dealt is reduced by 40%, damage taken is increased by 40%, movement speed is reduced by 50%, attack speed is reduced by 50%. That is brutal. And that is they're in that state for 10 seconds. That means if you do for freedom and you pull them out too late, you will die. They're all gone. They will be gone. So you only realistically get 10 seconds of for freedom, because that last 5 seconds, you want to be pulling those puppies out if you want to use them again. So burnout, in my eyes, needs to go. It has no place in the game. It is useless. I can see what they were going for, because what they were hoping for is that the bagpipes would do surge, and that would remove the burnout. Right? That would remove burnout. Never going to work that way. It's not gonna cycle up properly. So yeah, I could see what they wanted to do there, but it's turned out it just makes this unit become wholly unviable. in the current state. So burnout, gotta go. Reduce cooldown immensely on for freedom, so they're actually a usable unit. And maybe give them another like 10% damage reduction or something. Would be really nice. But apart from that, I'm happy with the way they are. It just needs to have that sorted out. So yeah, Claymores. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is it. I know this has been a long-winded video. We've just been chatting about units that I would like to see kind of brought up. And there are so many more. There are more. I was very... I really wanted to put in Banner Guard. Never realized. Failed concept, but a good concept. Really could be a cool unit. But I'm going to stick with what we've got for now, because otherwise we'll be here forever. But there's so many more units. But these are just some of my favorites, and the reason why I want them to be put back in the sun. Let me know underneath what your 3 units you would bring up to the kind of spec of the new units. And yeah, if any connection to devs or anything in the game, get this video shared, because, you know, unlikely, but if it gets in the right hands, maybe we could get some of these older cool units brought up. Thank you for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one.